would go around.
But ideally, the awards should be between 6 and 8%.
My question concerns the calculation of value of ICT in an institution. And I noticed from the model which you had projected up there on the ICT investments model that the personnel emoluments are actually excluded from the model. I'm curious to know why they have been excluded. If, for instance, we are taking ICT as an investment rather than a cost, they do wish to include the personnel emoluments because that would seem that you have actually invested in people who will bring about some kind of return and therefore investment value.
I can take several questions. Yes, there is another one from where you must.
Mine is on the value of ICT. I don't know whether I understand the question, whether it's, are we talking about benefits or value? Because if we're talking about value, then strategic value is missed out. Because the one very basic communication wasn't there. But I view a strategic to be one of the greatest values. I don't know how we strategize without ICT.
Another question? The reason why we have excluded personnel emoluments is because we were sensitive to availability of data in a ready form. Because an indicator is just an indicator. It gives you an indication which direction things are moving. So we basically focused not on investment, but we actually focused on operational expenditure. Yeah? And therefore, we focused on how much you are spending on bandwidth as a percentage of your recurrent expenditure. Yeah? But if you are to measure it properly, you would definitely need to include the investment on human resources. Yeah? But this is a common measure. Expenditure on ICT as a proportion of the total recurrent expenditure. It's a common indicator that is used. Yeah? So that is the reason of excluding personnel emoluments. And we were sensitive that some of this information might not be available in our institutions readily. And from our experience also, most institutions would not be considering PE as part of calculating the percentage they spend on ICT. Particularly in the public universities, where the PE is largely paid by the government, or most of it is paid by the government. The value of ICT, yes, I agree. With the value of ICT, a lot of the value is strategic. And if you look at some of the things that I showed there, like customers, a lot of that is strategic. Yeah? And therefore, it will be a mixture of strategic as well as operational benefits. Yeah. Any other question? Maybe beyond your plan.
Maybe I've just got a comment regarding zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, a comment regarding that percentage. In 2006, when we did the 17 universities, actually we did 25 institutions, which included some of the non-university colleges. At that time, the biggest pressure, because those are the satellite days, the biggest pressure was, the biggest call was that bandwidth is too expensive. So we did a calculation. We collected the data about how much you are actually spending and divided it with the total expenditure. And we also collected data on the mobile telephone bills. Now, if you remember, at that time, mobile telephone bills were not integrated with the PABX. They were given to the senior management, probably in public universities from Dean up. They were entitled to a mobile phone expenses. We found that a lot of us were spending less than 0.5%. So we went back with the data, with those 17 universities, and we asked them, if you are spending so little, how can you complain that it's expensive? Something is not affordable when it is taking too much of your expenditure. But this is insignificant. In fact, you are spending less on internet than on mobile phones. Internet was supposed to serve the students, but the mobile phones were serving the senior management. And so, confronted with that data, what happened is a complete transformation of percentages. So now, if we were to show you the percentages, many of the public universities have moved to about 1%. And the big universities are still doing under 1%. The small universities are going on to even 4%, 3%, because they value IT, that they value, remember the internet budget is a proxy to ICT budget, as far as we are concerned. It's very easy to collect data on ICT, on internet budget. Not so easy for most of you to collect data on ICT budget, because especially if you don't have an ERP. So that is how this has evolved. So as you think about it, if something is so important, should it not be reflected in how much you are spending?
I think there are two people who want to talk. Most of Nairobi is talking.
Thank you very much. I want to comment. I hope there's no order where you listen. I want to comment on
there's no order. Yes, there's no order.
The three investment areas.
Yes.
We don't have a written document to indicate the priority investment areas, but from the experience, we see the issue of value addition to what we already have, where we are thinking of things like video conferencing, we are thinking of smart card technology to enhance effective access to services. We are looking at applications for applications which help in service delivery, and also enabling access, flexible access, including wireless connectivity. From the way we are spending our budget, that seems to be the heaviest areas where we are concentrating. And then in number 5, the performance, or rather the indicators, the KPIs. I also don't have any concrete data, but from what I hear from our CEO, our Vice Chancellor, who is here, I would speak for him, but from what I hear him speak, every day he's bragging that he's able to know exactly how much money is collected every day. He can tell you from the figure on his laptop of his, how much. So in terms of making decisions, he likes that very much. So it's a top priority area, being able to know how he is doing in terms of debt collection. So debt collection is top, because every moment the CEO is talking about is able to effectively get his due from students on time. Because we have SMIs where students register through and integrated with the financial system. So that is, in my view, one area in terms of measuring the impact of ICT at the university level. The second one also is using ICT for student processing of marks. SMI, student marks processing. That seems to have a very high impact, because it has reduced the turnaround time in terms of delivering service to students, and the headache of production of graduation lists seem to have gone away. Still a challenge because of some of the errors here and there. but it seems to be a very high priority area. The third one is the transcripts. It's also related to the student months. We used to take 2 months to produce student transcripts. Those of you who are students at the University of Nairobi, you know you get it on a day, within an hour. You apply, you come back and collect it. So that seems to be an extremely high impact. So in terms of measurement of the value of ICT investments, a few others, those are the ones. Remember.
Thank you very much. I think before we go to Strathmore, I would ask some of the newer universities to think about that number 5, and also tell us number 3, the way the ones Omanga has addressed. To think about, tell us something about your 3 investment areas and your top KPIs, the top 3 KPIs. You can see from Dr. Omanga's one is about the investment areas is about adding value, most of them. The KPIs are much to do with management information and the service delivered. Yeah? Large indicators are what Strathmore?
I have 2 things. One question for you is about the ICT director. You mentioned that that person has to have quality. I have a dilemma, which is
You must have what?
a dilemma. I would like to have an ICT director, like a sort of a geek, IT geek, a kid who goes around thinking outside of the box all the time and seeing opportunities to use the technology, the computer and all, in helping people to do things in a better way, cheaper way, faster way. Now, these features are mostly found in young people, you know, newly graduated or not even yet graduated kids, and yet to be a CIO or a ICT director, we all agree that strategically this person has to be up there together with the CTO, CEO, and all. So now, should we perhaps be a PhD holder and all? So how do we combine these 2 things? Because I actually find that sometimes PhD holders, people who are BBC, you know, this born before computer, they really do not have that feature. So they go around perhaps not justifying the salary they get as the ICT director. So that's the first question that I would like you to throw some light in. And the second one is also a dilemma, is that as you have mentioned, we would do well if you were to spend a better part of our budget in purchasing good stuff for ICT and infrastructure and all. But I have a challenge about the utilization of these facilities. I give you an example. About a year ago, we went into voice over IP as our phone system in Strathmore. And it is a beautiful gadget we got, and it was installed so easily there. It is connected to your computer. It has reduced our phone bills. But the problem is that I realized that even myself, I use less than 10% of the facilities of that gadget. And there is a challenge. How can you people, or how can the ICT director or his team or her team to help me to make better use of those infrastructure I paid so much money for? So those are the questions.
Those are very good questions. I thought he was also going to tell us something about Strathmore and the priority areas and the top KPIs. Please jot them down. We'll come to you next time. Anybody else, particularly from one of the newer universities? Does anybody want to give us something that we can share? Yes, Geraldine?
Just a bit on the statistics. I was just calculating how much we spent last here on ICT, and it's a bit considerable from what we have there. And I believe we should be in stage 2.
What is the percentage?
9%.
9%?
Yes.
Wow. Capital investment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So much of that has gone into the infrastructure, the computers and the software.
Then stage
Anything
4.
else?
Stage 4. Or stage
Anything
5.
else? KPIs? Do you have any KPIs?
Of the scale.
I think we're at 3.6%.
Don't worry, we don't have.
We do have,
But it should
but
be
I
between
think
5
we are in
and
the
10.
process of setting up the system
Yes.
fully, so it's going to become operational.
Okay, can we have a mic for yes,
Yes, we've gone through a lot of coming out of complacency, as you talked about.
Yes.
And right now we've updated our backbone, finishing off the last segment of it. And we've done the software that we wanted. And the systems tend to be working pretty good. Some of it is a matter of getting some staff updated and some people coming in to train them in some of the new modules that we're placing in our ERP system. So we've gone through a lot right now, and our next step was then to go through a COVID audit, and I'll be talking about some of that tomorrow. And that COVID audit looked at and set for us certain priority areas.
Yes.
And one of the top ones was security. So for us now, one of the top areas is security and looking at ICT governance and strategy. So those are our two primary areas at this point.
Thank you very much. As you have heard, USIU, which I would put as a mature university, is focusing on security and ICT governance as two big issues. Yeah? Professor Kioni's one, I think this one is distorted because you are investing in ICT. And normally we tend to look at the recurrent expenditure, we use that. But if you are going to use it, because you want to invest once in a while, yeah? The next investment might be after a couple of years. You don't go investing every year. You go initially, you'll be investing on a regular basis. But we would wish to look at the more recurrent expenditure as a percentage of the total recurrent expenditure. That will give you a more better comparison.
Capital.
But
we only need to do
maybe
once.
as a clarification, the 9% is that you are taking the total ICT and the total expenditure, both recurrent and the capital.
No, that's just the recurring, excluding the monuments.
Wow.
Excluding the personnel, just like you have done it.
Okay.
So the 9% is all recurrent, ICT recurrent expenditure, or is it the
10%
is capital investment?
including the capital investment.
Including,
Yes.
but the denominator, does it include the capital investment?
No, just the recurring.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you remove the capital on the numerator, if you remove the capital investment, you calculate. Because I can see you have everything.
Yes, yes, he has got the worksheet.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much. I'll give a brief picture of JKUAT. If we look at number one, the cost or an investment, at JKUAT we are looking at it as an investment because, as I indicated earlier, we have several campuses and we need to link up data collection and information dissemination plus management, that area. So we are still investing and we hope to increase the investment. And for that reason, our number two, the top three ICT investment areas, we are still looking at infrastructure. though we have something, but we have to expand it and increase the capacity of our campuses to the same level with the main campus. Secondly, we are looking at the administrative. We just installed an ERP, which is now 1.5 years in use, and we are starting to see its benefits. But we are also customizing customer relationship management, which will be looking at the student services. So that is our second. But on the third one, it's the teaching and learning using ICT. And this morning you heard what we are trying to do with e-learning, and we've just established School of E-Learning. So those are our 3 top priorities in terms of the state.
About 40 kilometers from Nairobi, about 46 kilometers from Tanzania. What I'm trying to, what we have raised on the side of ICT, we started coming up with a policy, ICT policy which is accessible now on the net, which was approved by the council. Of course, we have gone around visiting places to compare what they have in place. At the same time, after that, the issue, when it comes now back to investment,